The Trump administration is reviewing the records of more than 55 billion US visa holders for potential revocation or deportable violations of immigration rules in a significant expansion of Trump's immigration crackdown. Now, the State Department said that all of the foreigners who currently hold valid US visas are subject to continuous vetting for any indication that they could be ineligible for the document, including those already admitted into the country. Should such evidence come to light, the visa would be revoked, and if the visa holder were to be in the United States, they would be subject to deportation. The United States has immediately stopped issuing visas for truck drivers, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced Thursday after a fatal crash raised anger within President Donald Trump's base. Rubio's action came after a truck driver was charged with killing 3 people on a highway in Florida while making a U-turn. Harjinder Singh, who's from India, allegedly entered the United States illegally from Mexico and failed an English examination after the crash, according to federal officials. The agency responsible for carrying out President Donald Trump's mass deportations is preparing to hire 10,000 more officers as the government gears up for a major expansion of immigration enforcement. This next report brings you more.
We're down here in Georgia at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center to see how ICE trains ERO officers. These are the people that are out in the streets or making arrests of people for immigration-related reasons. And so we're trying to, here today, we are seeing what kind of training they do. We're seeing how they teach people on driving, how we teach people on how to use weapons, and teaching them about the law and how that applies to people that they're going after for immigration enforcement reasons. And the reason we're down here is because the Trump administration has got this huge boost of money from the reconciliation bill. And with that, they're going to be hiring 10,000 more deportation officers.
Indians granted visas to study at UK universities continued a downward trend, with the majority of Indian students opting for postgraduate level qualifications, according to the latest Home Office statistics released on Thursday. That's yesterday, viewers. Indian students had 98,014 visa grants in the year ending June 25, were a close second to Chinese visa grants for the same period at 99,919. But however, both nationalities registered a fall in overall numbers compared to last year of 11% and 7% respectively. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro has accused India of being a quote-unquote laundromat for the Kremlin and has also said New Delhi does not need oil from Russia. He added that India does not appear to want to recognize its role in the bloodshed and is cozying up to Xi Jinping. The White House Trade Advisor has gone ahead and accused India of not creating peace and perpetuating war. On the other hand, he has further gone on to accuse India of cheating the US on trade and has also called the tariffs Maharaja tariffs. Navarro said he thinks the new tariffs on India will come into effect on the 27th of August. Now, the White House Trade Advisor's statements come as EAM Jaishankar was in Moscow and called the logic behind tariffs rather perplexing. Jaishankar also called out America's hypocrisy and said that India was not the biggest buyer of Russian oil. Listen in.
And the Indian situation is very interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 22, India bought virtually no Russian oil. Let me say it again. Prior to the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, India bought virtually no Russian oil. I mean, it was like 1% of their needs. So the argument somehow now, as the percentage has gone up to like 30 and 35%, and then they make refined products, which they sell at premium prices into Europe, Africa, and Asia. It's strictly profiteering by the Indian refining industry, big oil. Now, think about India when you think about the tariffs we're putting in place. 25% because they cheat us on trade, 25% because of the Russian oil. I ask you this. What is the net impact on the Americans because of our trade with India. Well, let's think about it. They have higher tariffs. There are Maharaja tariffs, higher non-tariff barriers. We run a massive trade deficit with them, so that hurts American workers, hurts American businesses.
We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian oil, that is China. We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian LNG. I'm not sure, but I think that is the European Union. We are not the country which has the biggest trade surge with Russia after 2022. I think there are some countries to the south. We are a country where actually the Americans said for the last few years that we should do everything to stabilize the world energy markets, including buying oil from Russia. So quite honestly, we are very perplexed at the logic of the argument that you had referred to.
We shift our focus eastwards now, where in a major development, Putin says he's ready to meet Zelensky. But there's a catch here, viewers. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says all key issues must be resolved first. And he also raised doubts about Zelensky's legitimacy, claiming his term has already expired. Meanwhile, Ukraine insists Zelensky remains the lawful president, and European leaders remain skeptical of Russia's intentions going ahead, accusing the Kremlin of stalling peace. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says he's working to arrange a historic three-way summit between Putin, Zelensky and himself, following recent US-Russia talks in Alaska. Russian cruise missiles struck an American electronics factory in western Ukraine, causing extensive damage and injuring more than a dozen people at that. Now, the factory is owned by US-based company Flex, produces household electronics like coffee machines and employs around 600 workers. Zelensky has condemned the attack, calling it a strike on civilian industry and American investment as well. Now, the attack initially was part of a massive Russian airstrike with over 570 drones and 40 missiles launched overnight across Ukraine. Ukrainian forces intercepted most of the weapons, but some got through, killing one civilian in Lviv. This report gets you the latest.
So you can still see the smoke and the burning of this American investments here in Western Ukraine. We are very close to the border with the EU, and just earlier this morning, Russian missiles hit this location here. This is an American company, Flex, one of the biggest American investments here in Ukraine. And look at it, totally destroyed. This is one of the most safest parts of Ukraine. The Transcarpathia, this is the other side of the mountains, the Carpathians, and this has been really a safe part. And today, total destruction brought by Russia, by Vladimir Putin's missiles. And this is the time when literally earlier this week, days where a week hasn't passed, when President Trump met with President Zelensky, EU leaders, but also less than a week ago, he met with President Putin. And the destruction is here. It just shows that Russia is not interested in peace. Russia is destroying American business. Russia is destroying Ukraine. This is humiliating for American business. I think the good news is that there were no employees. 600 people were working here earlier today at the night shift, and luckily everyone's alive because the company really adhered to all stringent health and safety measures. So this is from Zakarpattia, from Mukachevo. The firefighters are still working. Really, the first responders are still here over 12 hours, and you can still see the smoke coming.
We shift our focus to Western Europe now, viewers, where Italian police have arrested a Ukrainian man suspected of helping carry out the 2022 blast that rocked energy routes between Russia and Germany. The man, identified only as Serie K, was taken into custody near Rimini on Wednesday following a European arrest warrant issued by Germany. He's believed to have coordinated a secret mission aboard the yacht Andromeda, which allegedly transported divers to plant explosives near the Danish island of Bornholm. The attack damaged the pipelines beyond repair. Meanwhile, prosecutors say forged IDs were used to charter the boat, and the entire operation may have been backed by Ukrainian forces. However, Kiev denies this. Germany continues its investigation as Sweden and Denmark have closed theirs. Over in the Middle East, viewers, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he has instructed negotiations to begin for the release of all remaining hostages and the end to the war in Gaza on terms acceptable to Israel. Netanyahu told Israeli troops on Thursday night that his cabinet has also approved plans for a massive assault on Gaza City in the north of the territory. Now, this comes despite widespread international and domestic opposition. Staying with Israel, a shocking new investigation has revealed that Israeli military data shows an estimated 83% of Palestinians killed in Gaza were in fact civilians. Now, the disturbing figures come from a classified Israeli intelligence database uncovered by The Guardian magazine. As of May, the database listed just 8,900 named fighters as dead, out of a total 53,000 deaths reported by Gaza health authorities as well. Now, that means very clearly that 5 out of every 6 people killed were not combatants. Experts say the civilian death rate is amongst the highest seen in modern warfare, rivaling only the worst atrocities like Srebrenica and Mariupol in Ukraine. Hurricane Erin punched holes into dunes along the only road in and out of the much of North Carolina's Outer Banks. Water was hubcap deep in some parts of NC-12, the 2-lane ribbon of asphalt that connects Hatteras Island with the rest of the state. Tim Haas, a spokesman, in fact, for the State Department of Transportation, said that officials have not yet found any damage to the pavement, but this says a lot of water and sand will have to be removed before they can be sure. We shift our focus to Southeast Asia, where a Bangkok court has acquitted controversial billionaire and former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who was accused of insulting the monarchy. The lese majesté charge relates to an interview Mr. Shinawatra gave to a South Korean newspaper 10 years ago. He would have faced up to 15 years in jail if convicted. The verdict comes as Thaksin's daughter, suspended PM Pattulgram Shinawatra, faces a court case that may see her removed from office as well. Now, the cases have been seen as a big blow to the Shinawatras, who have dominated Thai politics for decades together. India will be closely watching the developments in the neighborhood this weekend, and Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is scheduled to be in Dhaka for a 3-day visit. Now, the visit, initially scheduled earlier for April, was postponed due to the hammering that Pakistan received during Operation Sindoor, which was launched in the aftermath of the heinous and dastardly terrorist attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir. Ishaq Dar is scheduled to meet a host of leaders from across the political spectrum in Dhaka, including Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus. California voters will decide in November whether to approve a redrawn congressional map designed to help Democrats win 5 more U.S. House seats next year. Now, this comes after Texas Republicans advanced their own redrawn map to pad their House majority by the same number of seats at President Donald Trump's urging. California lawmakers voted mostly along party lines Thursday to approve legislation calling for the special election. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, who has led the campaign in favor of the map, then quickly signed it, the latest step in a tit-for-tat gerrymandering battle. Listen in.
Let me just briefly reinforce, because I'm eager to sign a bill that no other governor in U.S. history has ever signed, a bill that will put the maps in front of the voters. We will be the first state in U.S. history to, in the most democratic way, submit to the people of our state the ability to determine their own maps. That simply has not been done.
After a wave of public pressure and social media mobilization, Brazil's Chamber of Deputies approved a bill Wednesday aiming to protect children and adolescents from online risks. Now, this bill will set to return to the Senate for a final review due to changes made in the lower house, but it is already being celebrated by various sectors of society. Here's more.
Fico feliz pelas decisões do Congresso, fico feliz pelo tanto que esse assunto está em alta e fico decepcionada por ter demorado tanto a ficar em alta. A gente, infelizmente, como sociedade, o que eu percebo é que a gente espera as coisas chegarem a um estado crítico.
Over in Washington, President Donald Trump delivered pizza and hamburgers to a group of police and national security forces that he has charged with a high-profile push against what he described as rampant crime and homelessness in capital Washington, D.C. Now, Trump had earlier suggested he would be going out on patrol, but instead it was a quick trip to an operations center for the U.S. Park Police on the Anacostia River. Carrying a handheld mic, Trump thanked law enforcement for their work. Listen in.
Well, I just want to thank everybody very much for being here. I wanted to do this. We've had some incredible results. The results have come out, and it's like a different place. It's like a different city. It's the capital. It's going to be the best in the world. We're going to do what you're doing with law enforcement, and very importantly also, we're going to physically do it. So we have great hamburgers cooked by the White House, and we have pizza that I said, don't do it in the White House because we went to a place that makes the best pizza. So we'll concede. But we have a lot of it, so we're going to have some fun. We'll eat, and I'll eat with you, and we're going to have a little fun. We're going to celebrate, but then we're going to get back to work, and we're going to take care of these criminals. We're going to put them where they have to be. You're going to say, don't play around with us.